Hello, my name is Carrie Ward, and today I'll be presenting my literature review titled The Relationship Between Social and Emotional Learning Activities and Students' Perceptions of Belonging. This literature review was written as part of my studies while working toward a master's in educational technology at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. During this presentation, I'll discuss my research purpose and research questions that guided my literature review, the methods I used to conduct my literature review, the major findings and results of this project, what these results mean for my practice and pedagogy, and my reflections on this research experience. My core purpose was to synthesize current critical research to determine the relationship between SEL participation and a student's sense of belonging in the high school community. Specifically, I wanted to identify how educators and administrators can refine or design SEL practices to not just teach social skills, but to directly and positively impact students' feelings of belonging at school. My literature review focused on three questions. How does participation in SEL activities influence students' sense of belonging? Which types of SEL activities most strongly support belonging? And how do demographic factors impact the relationship between SEL activities and students' sense of belonging? To answer these questions, I conducted a search of relevant literature via Google Scholar. After conducting the search, I then synthesized findings from 9 peer reviewed studies, 3 meta analyses, and 1 validated belonging scale. I compared themes across the literature to identify consistent patterns. Regarding my first research question, how does participation in SEL activities influence students' sense of belonging? I identified a few major findings. Across the literature, there's a clear positive relationship between SEL participation and students' sense of belonging. SEL builds social emotional skills that strengthen peer relationships and teacher student interactions, two of the strongest predictors of belonging. And programs are most effective when integrated into school culture and when they intentionally reflected students' diverse identities and experiences. In response to my second research question, which types of SEL activities most strongly support belonging, I found the most impactful SEL activities shared three characteristics. First, peer connection. Activities that foster collaboration and social ties consistently increased feelings of belonging. Second, cultural responsiveness. SEL activities that acknowledge students' backgrounds had stronger effects, especially for marginalized groups. And third, emotional intelligence and resilience. These skills supported identity development and helped students feel more connected to school. An additional important finding was that programs embedded into daily instructions outperformed standalone sessions. Related to my third research question, how do demographic factors impact the relationship between SEL activities and students' sense of belonging? I found that the impact of SEL programs varies across student groups, including grade level, where research indicates SEL effects decrease in upper grades, gender, as girls show slightly higher gains and benefits, though inclusive non gendered SEL activities are more effective for all students, and socioeconomic status, since research shows that students from marginalized or low socioeconomic backgrounds benefit most when SEL programs are trauma informed, culturally relevant, and equity focused. Generic SEL programs often fall short for this demographic population. These findings highlight that SEL can increase belonging, but only when done intentionally. For high school classrooms, this means integrating SEL into everyday routines, prioritizing peer connection and positive teacher student relationships, and ensuring that activities affirm the diversity of student identities and experiences. Equity focused SEL is essential if we want all students to feel they belong. After conducting this literature review, I identified a few noteworthy limitations. First, there does not appear to be a single universal definition of belonging, and as a consequence, studies measure it differently. Second, most research is based in Western countries, limiting its cultural generalizability. Future research should include longitudinal studies across all high school grades, cross cultural studies more inclusive of locations outside of the United States, and direct comparisons of generic SEL programs with culturally responsive, trauma informed ones. Reflecting on my research experience, I can say that I learned about the importance of the methodology behind the research. As a teacher, I've often read research for what it says, but haven't focused as much on how it came to those conclusions. Conducting this literature review has helped me see the importance of focusing on the methodology because it guided me to learn that research findings are only as strong as the method and design that produce them. I also learned that studying research with a critical eye is key. Identifying the limitations of the literature I reviewed helped me see this, as I was able to understand how one gap, like the absence of a universal definition of belonging, might have cascading impacts on the overall body of research. I believe I conducted a thorough search and review of the relevant literature and used my resources wisely. I'm also proud of myself for creating a report that is succinct and focused on the research questions. As far as where I would like to improve, I feel like I would like to take on the challenge of conducting a full research study related to SEL and belonging in the future. My school district has strict rules for conducting research involving students or teachers, so this will be a challenge for me. However, I'm excited by the prospect of being part of a research team that might have positive change on the field of education due to potential findings. Thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation. I'm hopeful my findings might inspire you to question how SEL activities play out in your school or work environment and consider making any changes that might lead to a more positive impact on one's sense of belonging.